Welcome. We are deliberating initiation aspects of Vedic mathematics as a mainstream discipline. Today in this session, our focus is to remain upon the fourth letter. Fourth letter Dha is of TC value 7 and its placement in the fourth column as fourth letter of the fourth row and fourth column cross point of Varga consonants is its basic fixation. It is in terms of this fixation of this letter, the fourth letter Dha, at the cross point of the fourth column and fourth row. In other words, letter Dha is the fourth letter of the fourth column, and it is also the fourth letter of the fourth row of 5 cross 5 Varga consonants. Its TC value is 7. This, as such, brings us face to face with the aspect of four space of spatial order when 4 cross 4 grid of value 16 parallel to the value of the dimensional frame of quadruple spatial dimensions of 4 space. It is this cross point, it is this specific fixation of the fourth letter as the fourth letter of the fourth row as well as the fourth column and 4 cross 4 grid as such will accommodate 16 letters, 16 values, and also along the outer boundary it will take us from 1, 2, 3, 4 along the horizontal and 4, 5, 6, 7 as a value along the vertical axis of the 4 cross 4 grid. Therefore, before we have a proper glimpse and appropriate insight as well as the appropriate enlightenment about this fixation of the fourth letter of the text of Ganita Sutras, we shall put ourselves to a specific posture as to how far we are having a realistic glimpse of the real four space. For it, one may put oneself in the initial state as if one is sitting in a room, as if one is within a cube. It is this placement within a cube, within a room, will create a mental state because of the four walls, roof, and the floor, that the space is a three space. The mental state for a person sitting in a room or for the individual within a cube is a linear order three space mental state, and it is only because of the spatial boundary, because of the 6 surface plates of the cube. And to melt this mental state, one is to come out of the room, one is to come out of a cube. So when one will be out of a cube, as is depicted here in the sheet, one will be realizing that the outer space is a four space. Three space is left behind. The space outside the room is not confined within the four walls. The space outside the cube is not restricted up till the limitations of a three-dimensional frame. Therefore, the sadhakas fulfilled with intensity effort to be parallel with Vedic system shall first of all melt their mental state of a linear order. This mental conditioning of the space being a three space of three linear axis frame is to be melted. This mental state about the space as a three-dimensional space confined within a three-dimensional frame of three linear axes is a restriction, is a condition, is a limitation in the way of comprehending the reality. Reality transcends the three space. The space in which we can move, the space in which the solids are in a dynamic state is not a three space. The static state, because of three axes, is a different state than the dynamic state of solids, which requires a degree of freedom of motion. This degree of freedom of motion for solids requires, expects a fourth dimension, fourth geometric dimension. The fourth geometric dimension availability is there for the dynamic state solids. Therefore, when one will come out of a room, one will feel that one has dispensed with the static state and is in a dynamic state, and solid in a dynamic state is in a space of four dimensions, at least one additional dimension than that of the restrictive static state of a cube, a three space. Once we have melted the mental state because of a linear order three space setup of a cube, of a room, of solids, then soon we will be having a conditioning of the spatial space, the four space as well. Like three space, four space as well is inherently having the situation for creating a mental state. Therefore, the sadhakas fulfilled with intensity of virtue to be parallel with Vedic systems, Vedic comprehension, Vedic visualization, and Vedic insight, then one is to melt the mental state because of the four space as well. As in case of three space, we had melted the conditioning because of the linear order of the three space by coming out of the cube, out of three space as a domain. So in continuity, when we will come out of four space, it is just like when we will be having an acceleration for the speed. So when we will be out of the confinement and limitations of the spatial order of a four space, our mental conditioning because of the spatial order of the four space as well will dissolve, will melt, and we will be in a mental state free of the limitations of the spatial order. It would be a mental state of the five space. Today, we are deliberating regarding the initiation of the Vedic mathematics of the Ganita Sutras by being parallel with the fourth letter. To be parallel with the fourth letter of the text of Ganita Sutras, we have to be parallel with a four space setup. Three space is a linear order space. Four space is a spatial order space. Therefore, the reach from three space as a domain to four space would mean that there is to happen a transcendence at the center of the cube. at the synthetic giant of 8 subcubes of a cube. It is the origin seed. Therefore, we have to reach a four-space setup, which will be a setup of a Lord Brahma's space, a four-head Lord presiding the spatial order space. Lord Brahma is a four-head Lord. Each head is equipped with a pair of eyes. Two space parallel to the pair of eyes in each head is playing the role of the spatial dimension of a four space. Being a spatial dimension, we will be having a, a arrangement for a line as a bended line. It would be like the line bended and accommodating, say, a 4 cross 4, the horizontal axis 1, 2, 3, 4, when is to accommodate simultaneously along the vertical line. It will be a 4, 5, 6, and 7. It is this format which deserves to be comprehended well to have an appreciation of the fourth letter having a TC value 7. It is this feature, it is this initial feature of the fourth letter which deserves to be comprehended well. Therefore, our today's deliberation regarding the initiation features of entering into the mathematical domain of Ganita Sutras parallel to the features of the fourth letter, we have to grade our chase. We have to be through these 10 steps. The first step is the step of comprehension of zero as an entity. It is an entity like any other entities. It may be visualized as a point body. Therefore, zero as value, zero as a point body, zero as an entity, zero as an element of cardinality 1, zero being an empty space, space without elements, but being a space. So empty space itself is a space, is an entity, and is having cardinality 1. Therefore, the first phase of comprehension of the initiation features in the fourth letters is the comprehension of zero as an entity. The second phase of initiation is to glimpse real 4 and 5 spaces. The reality of a 4 space, the reality of a 5 space is the reality which is to be comprehended, and it is with comprehension of this reality that one will be being of a mental state which will go parallel with the comprehension format, the visualization format of the Ganita Sutras. The third phase is the comprehension that manifested creations, all the creations in our solar universe are of fourfolds. It is this fourfold manifestation feature of the creation which deserves to be imbibed well. The fourth phase is that we shall have a comprehension of the formulation shunya, zero, shunya. Shunyam has simple rendering means value 0. Shunyam is a formulation. So Shunya as a formulation deserves to be changed letter by letter. TCV value of each of the letters of the Shunyas together making the TC value of Shunya formulation as 18 is the comprehension. It is the fourth phase and stage of comprehension of this phase of initiation for entry into the mathematical domain of Ganita Sutras in terms of values and format of the fourth letter, that is Dha of TC value 7. The fifth phase of initiation is a point dimensional body. Point dimensional body is conceptually of manifold features. One of these features is that this body stands reduced to a zero value of the measure of its domain, means zero length, zero area, zero volume, zero hypervolumes, and otherwise being a point, it being a value 0 will be having a superimposition upon another value of value 0, and 0 by 0 is equal to 0, and 0 multiplied by 0 is equal to 0, as well bring us face to face with the synthesis and split phenomenon of our solar universe. The sixth phase and stage of initiation is the quadruple formulations as a single set of formulations. Rishi, Devata, Chandas, and Swara are the quadruple formulations in terms of which every richa, every mantra of the Vedic Sahitas is properly framed, fixed, formulated, and valued. Therefore, the sadhakas fulfilled with the intensity of work to be parallel with Vedic mathematics initiation in terms of its fourth letter shall be parallel with the quadruple formulations Rishi, Devta, Chandas, and Swara. The seventh phase of chase of initiation of Vedic mathematical domain in terms of its fourth letter is another set of quadruple formulations Vyakta, Avyakta, Avyakta, Sanatana, and Purusha. These quadruple formulations are the expression formats, the way manifested creations express themselves within the dimensional frames in our solar universe is the feature which is to be properly chased and is to be properly comprehended. And it is by comprehension of this expression feature of the manifested creations that one will be parallel with the Vedic system. The eighth feature of the initiation here in this context is the format of Mahabhuts. This format is the most fundamental format, as every living and non-living body is ultimately having common format, and it is the format of Mahabhuts. The ninth phase and stage is the formulation Chit. Chit has a simple rendering, a consciousness organ. The consciousness organ of human body is in such a state that it provides a foundation for the intelligence field. It is the consciousness field of the intelligence field which is to ultimately index the degree of the success of comprehension and chase of Vedic systems by the individual sadhakas. The last phase here in today's deliberation step for understanding the initiation in terms of the fourth letter is the formulation Eka Adhikain itself, the very first formulation of the first sutra of Ganita Sutra's text, and it is the fourth letter of this formulation over which we are deliberating. And this fourth letter being of placements between third and fifth letter, and both being of TC value 2, while the transcendence from the third letter O is of value 5, and on the other hand, the geometric format of the fifth letter, though of TC value 2, is of 5 geometry's range. It is this difference and it is this parallel values formats for third and fifth letters in reference to the fourth letter, which will ultimately help us have proper index of the degree of evaluation of the success of comprehension of the initiation features of the fourth letter. Now let us begin with the first feature. The first feature is zero as an entity. One shall sit comfortably and permit the transcending mind to comprehend zero as an entity. Zero is not to be taken wide qua any manifested content entities. Zero is also an entity like 1, 2, 3 or any. It is just like saying that the natural numbers, the counts 1, 2, 3, when have the entry permissibility for zero, then zero as well becomes a value like any other values of the whole numbers, and zero and the other natural numbers will make this range as of whole numbers. So zero is a whole number. Zero being a whole number, therefore it also plays all the roles as are being played by other natural numbers, the count numbers, the numerals 1 to 9. Therefore, as one space, there is a zero space. As one space plays 4 distinct roles of a dimension fold of 3 space, as boundary fold of a 2 space, and as domain fold of 1 space, and as the origin fold of a zero space. Zero space as well is having parallel quadruple roles, and the basic role at which we shall draw our attention at present is in context to the value 4, in context to number 4. If number 4 accepts an organization as 2 plus 2 equal to 2 cross 2 equal to minus 2 cross minus 2. Now addition, multiplication and orientation. These 3 are the basic features in terms of which the artifices, the mathematics of numbers stands regulated along the geometric formats. Parallel to these features of number value 4, there are parallel similar formatted features for number 0 as well, as 0 is equal to 0 plus 0 equal to 0 cross 0 and minus 0 cross minus 0. But we know that 0 is at the placement of dimension of a dimension. 2 space is playing the role of dimension of 4 space, and 0 space plays the role of a dimension of 2 space. Therefore, this parallel formatted organization features at the domain, 4 space as a domain, at and at dimension of dimension, Eurospace is the feature which deserves to be comprehended well. It is only with the degree of richness of comprehension of this feature of Euro as an entity and the of coordination in terms of triple features of addition, multiplication, and orientations formats that we can be blissfully of insight and enlightenment to be parallel with the mathematics of the Ganita Sutras. The second feature and the most important feature, as it is in terms of this feature of our degree of comprehension of reality of four space, that we can be blissfully of a privileged state of being beyond the limitations of the linear progression. When one is successful to melt the mental conditioning because of the linear order of three space, then and only then one can say that one is properly initiated for being within the mathematical domain of the Ganita Sutras. As such, the sadhakas are fulfilled with the intensity of urge to be parallel with the Vedic mathematics shall sit comfortably, permit the transcending mind to melt the conditioning because of the linear order setup of the three space and be of the mental state of the spatial order of the creators of space, the four space, and a step ahead. One shall also melt the conditioning because of the spatial order of the creators of space and be of intelligence state of the consciousness base which makes the intelligence field being of the order transcending the mental conditioning because of the spatial order. The third phase of learning, the third phase of focus here in the context of the fourth letter dha is that it is of the placement of the fourth column as well as of the fourth row, and it is of TC value 7. How the fourth letter in the fourth column as such is of an origin fold. The first column is of a dimensional order. So the second column is of a boundary order. Third column is of a domain order. And the fourth order is the origin order. Therefore, the dha being of a placement of the fourth phase and stage in the fourth column, therefore, this letter dha of TC value 7 is in the role of the origin, and 7 space as origin is the origin of a 6 space. Therefore, the placement of the fourth letter dha in the fourth column at fourth phase and stage in the role of the origin makes it of such a specific position that it takes us face to face with the origin of a 6 space. It is this feature which will help us be parallel with the sequential progression of the mathematical domain knitting in terms of first letter of value 6 as a 6-space domain. At the next stage, the second letter Ka Brahma is to be at the level of the dimension of a 6-space, and further here Ka Brahma is Ka Shiv, means there is inherent potentiality of this phase and stage of the second letter that it of its own brings in the inner potentiality of transiting from the 4-space to a 5-space. And the third letter O takes us to the dimension of a dimension stage. The reach from the domain, 6-space as a domain, to 2-space as dimension of dimension is a transcendence within a 6-space domain, and a step ahead is the origin. Therefore, the 4 folds manifested creation, the setup, is such a format that it, at its 4th phase, takes us to the placement format of the origin. So 642, as first 3 steps reach from 6-space as a domain to 4-space as a dimension to 2-space as a dimension of dimension, is at the phase and stage where one as a rishi glimpses the origin. It is this glimpsing phase and stage which is of the reach of the 4th letter. The reach of the 4th letter is the reach for which we are deliberating. Our initiation at this phase and stage is going to be of values and format where we can glimpse the origin. The glimpsing of the origin is the attainment. So sadhakas are fulfilled with intensity of urge to be parallel with the mathematical domain of Ganita Sutras, a shall glimpse the origin. Glimpsing of the origin is the end fruit of initiation in terms of the 4th letter. From this phase and stage, when we'll enter the next phase, it is going to be the phase of being face to face with formulation shunya. Shunya is the concept, shunya is the formulation which occurs for the first time in the text of the 5th Ganita Sutra. Formulation shunya is of TC value 18, and TC value 18 goes parallel with the summation value of the 4-fold manifestation layer of hypercube of 5. 3, 4, 5, and 6 is a 4-fold manifestation layer of hypercube 5 within 4 space. And the summation value 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 equal to 18 is parallel to the TC value shunya. As such, 5 space, which plays the role of an origin of a 4 space, is at initiation point is a point body. This point body, this 5-space point body, is a placement at the center of the hypercube 4. This placement of the origin at the seat of the center of 4 space as a domain is the feature where point body of a 5-space is of value 0. It is this feature of 5-space body as of value 0, as of hyper volume 5, as of 0 Mayer, So it is the zero transcendental domain which is at the placement, at the origin seat, at the center of the creator's space, and it as such becomes a transcendental scene. It is this transcendental scene at the origin seat of the creator's space which is to be comprehended fully. It is the comprehension of the transcendental seal at the origin seat at middle center of the creator's space of hypercube 4 as a fourth space domain, which is going to be the ultimate comprehension, and it is going to be the ultimate bliss. It is going to be the ultimate reach in terms of the fourth letter of the text of Ganita Sutras. The next phase and stage of initiation phase is that we shall be parallel with the point dimensional bodies. Point is of zero length. Length is of zero area. Surface is of zero volume. Solid is of zero hypervolume. It is this phase and stage of a body as a point body being of a zero value getting superimposed upon the zero body of the lower dimensional order body, and it is this compactification phenomenon. It is this compactification phenomenon which is of such feature and values that it is only in terms of it that there can be a transcendence from a given order dimensional setup to the next dimensional order setup. The transcendence phenomenon happening within the solar universe is the phenomenon which is to be chased by the sadhakas fulfilled with intensity of work to be parallel with the Vedic systems, Vedic mathematics, Vedic sciences, Vedic technologies. Therefore, the concept of a point dimensional body is the basic concept. This point, as such, becomes a structured point. Therefore, the point is to be approached as a structured point. The point as a structured point takes us to the zero Meyer for the Meyer rod of the concerned dimensional space. Zero as a dimensional unit value for a dimensional domain is the concept which in the context of one space line as a domain will help us distinguish the point of a line and point on a line. So a line will accommodate infinitely many points, and line itself is also constituted, its constituents as well are of infinitely many. The point of a line has a length though of a value 0. However, the point simpliciter is not having a length. Point is devoid of length, while the point line as constituent of a line has a length though of value 0. It is this concept which deserves to be comprehended well. The next phase and stage of comprehension in the context is that the Vedic Samhitas, the Richas, the mantras of the Vedas are having proper mathematical formatted fixation in terms of values, and this formatted fixation in terms of values is as a setup of quadruple formulations: Rishi, Devata, Chandas, and Swar. These quadruple formulations, Rishi is of TC value 12. The formulation Devata is of TC value 26. The formula Chandas means which that is the filtering format. So this filtering format is of value 22, and then Swara is of value 15. The total summation value is 75. It would be blissful to have a pause here to be parallel with this insight and enlightenment, as that this value 75 as the summation value of the TC value of the quadruple formulations Rishi, Devata, Chandas, and Swar comes to be 75, parallel to the TC value of Ganita Sutra 1, Eka Adhikain Purve. One shall sit comfortably and permit the transcending mind to absorb, to imbibe this glimpse, this value of the quadruple formulations being parallel with the value of the Ekadhikain Purve. It is because of it that Ekadhikain Purve, the first sutra, becomes the source sutra. The next phase and stage of learning and appreciation is the fourfold expressions of formats for the manifested creations. These are called Vyakta, Avyakta, Avyakto, Avyaktat, Sanatana, and Purusha. The Vyakta, the expressed, the Vyakta as a formulation is having TC value 15. Avyakta, the unmanifest, unexpressed state is of value 16, parallel with the dimensional frame of the force space. Avyakto Avyaktat is of TC value 28, parallel to the Sanatana, and value 28 is the TC value of the Brahma. And then the Purusha, it is of value 24. Summation value is 83. It will be blissful to take note that this reach in the context of the Mahabhuts, the basic elements format of a Prithvi, Apa, Agni, Vayu, Akash, and Surya comes to be of value 81. So 81 as a dimension takes us to 83 as a domain. Therefore, the fourfold expressions within our solar universe as Vyakta, Avyakta, Avyakto, Avyaktat, and Purusha of value 83 is of the domain value in respect of the dimension of value 81. One can further have a pause here and take note that 81 is equal to 3 raised to power 4. It amounts to that the transcendental origin, solid order origin of spatial order for space is the setup that the transcendence of a solid order within for space and its superimposition upon the spatial order frame of for space is the ultimate mechanism, ultimate technology of sun on a light which is providing fourfold expressions as Vyakta, Avyakta, Sanatana, and Purusha along the Mahabhuts format. And if we have a pause here, we will take note that the Jyoti within an Agni, the Tej, the glow of the Agni, takes us to value 15, and it up till the first 3 takes value 48 and ultimately becomes 101, which is parallel to the 101 branches of a Yajurved. So it is the ultimate yajna of the Mahabhuts, which is regulating the existence phenomenon within frames, including the human frame. Sadhakas are fulfilled with intensity of urge to be parallel with the existence phenomenon along the format of Panchmahabhut shall permit the transcending mind to be parallel with this happening along the Mahabhuts formats of a fourfold expressions as Vyakta, Avyakta, Sanatana and Purshana. A step ahead, one shall permit the transcending mind to be parallel with the consciousness base. There is an intelligence field because of mind, and there is a consciousness field because of a chit. Sadhakas are fulfilled with the density of urge to be parallel with the Vedic systems, Vedic mathematics shall be conscious enough about their consciousness organ, a chit, mind and chit, man wa chit, are two distinct organs within a body. Mind is being recognized, but chit is being not recognized in the present approach of the modern systems. Sadhakas are fulfilled with intensity of urge to be parallel with Vedic systems shall sit comfortably and permit the transcending mind to be parallel with the existence reach for the chit as foundation for the intelligence. A reach from chit to man is the ultimate reach of learning. The learning is the phase and stage of being conscious about the consciousness organ of the human body. Chit is the formulation which is of TC value 13, and it has a geometric format of a dynamic state of 12-edged cube within a creator's space. 12-edged cube from its static state of 3 space transcends and transforms into a hypercube of 13-edged setup, with the 13th edge being the manifested along the 4th dimension of a 4th space. And it is this 13th edge which gets coordinated with the center, which is the seat of the transcendental origin of a 4th space, and 5 space as the origin is a setup of dimensional frame of value 15. The TC value of punch 5 as well is 15. So it is this coordination of 13 and 15 which makes 28, which is the TC value of a Brahma. So the sadhakas are fulfilled with intensity of urge to be parallel with the Vedic systems shall first of all to sit comfortably and permit the transcending mind to be parallel with the existence phenomenon of the chit consciousness organ of human body, and then the coordination of the consciousness organ with the mind. It is this reach which is going to be the index of success of a reach for the sadhakas fulfilled with intensity for to be parallel with the Vedic systems. With it, the phase and stage will reach where one will be face to face with Antahakaran, ultimate sports. There are quadruple sports of Man, Buddhi, Chit and Ahankar. These quadruple formulations lead us to value 19, 25, 13, 23 of summation value 70. And we know that within creators the space, within fourth space, the domain split phenomenon, the Visfort, the split of the domain within the creator space at the fourth phase and stage of split is of 70 streams. It is this 70 streams spectrum of the domain split phenomenon within the creator's space because of the transcendental origin, which is the ultimate glimpsing phase and stage for the sadhakas. Once one is parallel with this glimpsing phase and stage of the transcending mind for the consciousness foundation of its intelligence as a domain split spectrum of 70 streams, one feel oneself blessed to be of fortunate state to be parallel with the Vedic mathematics. And the Vedic mathematics is the mathematics which has Eka Adhikain formulation as the source formulation, and it is this source formulation which sequentially takes us to value 6 with the first letter, 10 as first two letters, 12 as first three letters, 19 as the first four letters, 21 as first five letters, and consequently we reach up till 40. And it is this 40 which is Ishwar Prani Dhyan, a 23rd Sutra of Patanjal Yog Darshan. Now it is this reach which at value 12 is parallel to the formulation yoga, and 19 it is parallel to the TC value of formulation dhyan. Dhyan is dha, the fourth letter, and yan. How the fourth letter is a carrier. It is the fourth letter 7 as origin of sixth space is the transcendental carrier. It is this transcendental carrier ride which will take beyond the creator's space to its transcendental base. And it is this reach at the transcendental base at the fifth letter as a value 21. We know 21 is the TC value of Shivalya. The Shivalya is the fifth phase and stage of your reach. Thank you very much.